Imagine graduating from high school and knowing that college is not something you have to fear financially. No overwhelming tuition bills, no decades of student debt, just opportunity. As a current college student at Ole Miss, I understand firsthand how expensive higher education can be and why affordable pathways to a degree matter. I see the cost of tuition, fees, and living expenses, and I know many of students who struggle to stay enrolled because of financial pressure. This issue matter is not just to college students, but to everyone. A more educated population leads to a stronger workforce, a healthier economy, and more engaged democracy. Today, I will argue that the United States should adopt nationwide tuition-free community college program. First, I will explain the problem of the rising college costs. Second, I will present evidence for why tuition-free community college is beneficial. Finally, I will address criticisms of this policy and explain why they are not strong enough to reject it. To understand why this policy is necessary, we have to first look at the problem. According to Matthew P. Ison, in educational policy, rising tuition and declining state funding have made higher education increasingly difficult to access. Ison explains that states continue to slash appropriations to their public institutions, forcing students and their families to incur larger amounts of student loan debt. This trend has serious consequences. As cost rises, students from low-income backgrounds are most likely to be pushed out of higher education entirely. The trend has serious consequences. Ison also emphasizes why this matters beyond the individual. He writes that the benefits of a college education to both the individual and society can not be overstated, including higher wages, improved healthy outcomes, and increased civic engagement. In other words, when students are denied access to college because of cost, society as a whole loses out. While the problem is serious, research shows that there is a clear policy solution that can improve access and outcomes. One of the strongest arguments for tuition-free community college is that it increases access and completion rates. According to Christopher Lau, a researcher with the Federal Trade Commission, a fully free community college scheme does well across all measures, significantly increasing access and complements in aggregate. This means that when the tuition barriers are removed, more students not only will enroll but actually finish their degrees. Lau also notes that these programs benefit students across income levels, not just low-income students, making the policy broadly effective. There is also a real-world evidence supporting this. Jill Barshay from the Hettinger Report reports that Tennessee's free community college program has led major improvements in outcomes. She explains that before the program, only 16% of students completed an associate degree with 3 years. But after implementation, the number rose significantly, with some groups reaching over 30% of completion rates. Barshay also notes that the program has helped produce tens of thousands of graduates, showing that this is not just theoretical, it works in practice. Even with this evidence, some people still argue that free community college is not the best solution. One common argument against tuition-free community college is that it is too expensive or inefficient. Former U.S. Secretary of Education Margaret Spellings raises concerns about whether funding should be focused on community colleges. In her PBS interview, she argues, let's be agnostic about the kinds of places that students might select, suggesting that students should have more flexibility in how they use financial aid. Other, like economist Dick Starts from the Brookings Institution, argue that implementing free tuition is complicated because states vary widely in how much they spend per student and how much funding they can contribute. These are valid concerns, but they do not outweigh the benefits of the policy. First, tuition-free community college programs already exist in multiple states and have shown positive results, especially in increasing completion rates and enrollment. Second, as Lau's research shows, the benefits extend beyond individual students to the broader economy, meaning the investment pays off in the long term. Finally, tuition-free community college does not have to replace existing financial aid like Pell Grants. It can work alongside to reduce the barriers even further. In conclusion, the rising cost of higher education has created a barrier that prevents too many students from reaching their potential. As Matthew Eison explains, higher education is essentially not for individual success, but for the health of our democracy. Tuition-free community colleges offer practical and proven solutions. It increases access, improves completion rates, and strengthens the economy. Evidence from researchers like Christopher Lau and all the real-world programs like Tennessee's show that this policy works. While critics raise the concerns about cost and structure, these challenges can be addressed through carefully policy design and do not outweigh the clear benefits. The question is whether or not we can afford to invest in education. It is whether we can afford not to. If we want a stronger future for our students, for communities, and for the country, the tuition-free community college is a step we should take. Thank you so much.